And we are back. Welcome to Game Week 2 of the Premier League. These are my predictions. And before we get into it, thank you for 650 subscribers. We've actually gained nearly 40 subscribers in the last week alone. So clearly, we've got a lot of new viewers coming in for the new season. And welcome back to the channel if you are one of those new viewers. The target for this season is to reach 1,000 subscribers. So with all of your support, thank you very much once again. Now for today, we have only 9 Premier League games for you this weekend because Luton versus Burnley has been postponed due to the pitch not being ready, or the whole stadium not being ready for the Premier League season so far. So just the 9 fixtures for you today. And before we get into those, a quick reminder as always, if you've not done so already, to drop a like on this video if you do enjoy these predictions series. And if you haven't done so already as well, please do consider subscribing to the channel. As I've just said, the target is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss out on any of the uploads on this channel. Let's get into Game Week 2's predictions. And we start off with tonight's game, which is Nottingham Forest against Sheffield United, one of the newly promoted sides against one of the sides that was promoted last season and was very, very close to going down. I think, based on what I've seen from the opening weekend, I think this is a game Nottingham Forest should definitely be winning. And to be honest, I think they should be winning it fairly comfortably. I'm only going to go for 2-0. I don't see Sheffield United scoring. The way they played last week against Crystal Palace, I think they only really had one realistic chance in the entire game, and even that wasn't a particularly good one. Whereas Forest played very, very well against Arsenal and almost nicked a draw at the Emirates. So in their first home game of the season, in a ground where they were fantastic last year, I expect Nottingham Forest to get the job done and keep a clean sheet while they're at it. On to Saturday's games, and we move straight to 3 o'clock because Manchester City Newcastle is going to be played at 8 p.m. on Saturday evening. So we kick off with Fulham against Brentford, two sides that arguably overperformed last season, but both made relatively good starts to this season. Brentford getting the draw against Tottenham, Fulham winning away against Everton. I think it's going to be a tough one to call. I think it's just going to come down to which side takes the more chances. And given the fact that Fulham did take their chance last week, despite the fact that Everton did have a fair few themselves, I think it's just going to be Fulham's day, and I'm going to go for 2-1 to Fulham. Probably one of the toughest ones to call this week, but I just got this one going in Fulham's favour. In what I think is one of the more easier ones to call this week, it is Liverpool up against Bournemouth. Now, this fixture finished 9-0 to the home side last season. I definitely think Bournemouth have improved since then. They've certainly made some very good signings over the last few days. How many of those are going to be available remains to be seen, and how effective those players are going to be is also a lot more remaining to be seen. But I think we all expect Liverpool to still win this one. I'm not going to go for an outlandish scoreline like 9-0 like it was last time. I'm going to go for 4-0. I'd still expect Liverpool to keep the clean sheet, but I think Bournemouth are definitely more than capable of scoring at least one goal at Anfield this time around. They, of course, did beat Liverpool in the reverse fixture later on in the season with Mo Salah missing that penalty, but definitely not enough for me to say Bournemouth are going to get a result at Anfield. I'd still expect Liverpool to take it relatively comfortably. The next game sees Wolves take on Brighton, two sides that played very, very well in their opening fixture, but one sadly was defeated and the other one won fairly comfortably. So we'll see how this one goes. I think it's going to be a much tighter game than I initially thought at the start of the season. I would have definitely had this down as a back-to-back Brighton winning start to the season. But if Wolves play the way they did against Manchester United, they're definitely going to cause problems for Brighton in this game. It's just whether or not Wolves can put the ball in the back of the net, which obviously they couldn't do at Old Trafford despite all of the chances and, of course, the Onana incident, which we probably shouldn't talk about again. But I think they'll cause Brighton some problems. I still think Brighton will probably score against Wolves. I think it's going to be a very tight game. So with that said, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Brighton. The Saturday evening game, or the first of the Saturday evening games, should I say, is Tottenham against Manchester United. Now, when you watched my season prediction video at the start of the season, you'd have seen that I went for Manchester United to win the league, and I earmarked this fixture as the perfect opportunity to show the rest of the Premier League that we are not going to crumble under the pressure of big away fixtures this season. However, considering how we played against Wolves, and considering that Tottenham, despite not beating Brentford, I thought played very well against Brentford, I think if we allow that sort of space in the midfield that we did against Wolves, we're going to get picked apart by Spurs. So as I sit here right now on Friday morning, I'm going to go for 3-1 to Spurs. I hope I'm wrong. I do kind of expect to be wrong in that regard. We cannot afford to play the same way we did against Wolves, but I can't take that risk when it comes to these predictions. I have to look at those opening fixtures and say, Tottenham attacked very well. Manchester United were very, very ropey in midfield. I still expect United to score because Tottenham didn't defend particularly well themselves either. But we shall see. As it stands right now, I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for Spurs. The second Saturday evening game sees Manchester City taking on Newcastle, a battle of the top two in the second week of the Premier League season. And it's very hard for me not to say Manchester City are going to win this one. I did say when it came to the Super Cup, I expected City to win that one fairly comfortably. Sevilla were able to take it to penalties. So City clearly are not at their out-and-out bests yet in this season, which is a good sign. And Newcastle appear to be at their best already with that 5-1 win against Aston Villa. So this could be the perfect opportunity for Newcastle to play Manchester City. But I just feel at home, first game of the season for them, at home since they won their historic treble. They're going to want to lay down a marker, especially against one of the teams that are going to be pushing them for Europe, potentially pushing them for the title all season long. I do expect City to win, but I'm going to keep it close, and I'm going to go for 2-1 to Manchester City in that one. On to Sunday's fixtures, and we start off with Aston Villa against Everton, two sides who were probably beaten worse than they would have expected to have been. Aston Villa, of course, losing 5-1. Everton not really expecting to lose at all in their first game at home. So it really comes down to who can bounce back the best. And I think Aston Villa obviously have suffered their 2 ACL injuries with Buendia and Tyrone Mings, but they've got a lot of quality coming in. They have, of course, signed Zaniolo. Whether or not he'll be available for Sunday at this moment in time remains to be seen. He'll probably be on the bench. Everton, of course, are going to have to try and do something to sort out their goal-scoring problem. They had enough chances against Fulham. They just couldn't put the ball in the net. But I expect Aston Villa to win this. They've got too much quality for, I think, Everton defensively. And it just comes down to how defensive Everton are willing to be. We all know how Sean Dyche teams do tend to defend. So I think Aston Villa will win. I don't think it'll be too convincing, but I'm going to go for 3-1 to Aston Villa. The second game on Sunday sees West Ham taking on Chelsea, a battle of the London clubs. And again, this is a really, really tight one to call, and I can't really split them as things stand right now. Chelsea, of course, have spent an awful lot of money in the last few days to bring some more signings through the door. Again, though, I don't think any at all are going to be available for this game. It does remain to be seen, and of course, West Ham are subject to a massive bid from Manchester City for Lucas Paquetá, their arguably star player, who could potentially not play in this game now because of the speculation about him going to Man City. Do I think that's going to affect the overall game? I'm not so sure. Chelsea have, of course, lost Reece James to a hamstring injury once again as well, so that's going to certainly play a part. I can't split them right now. I think both teams are going to be very attack-minded and not particularly the best defensively, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in that one. And finally, we have the Monday night football between Crystal Palace and Arsenal, the game which was the opening game of last season. Arsenal did take the win on that occasion, and I'm backing Arsenal to take the win again this season. I'm going to go for 2-1. I think, again, it'll be a tight game. We all know how Crystal Palace can make games really difficult. They have announced the re-signing or the contract extension of Michael Olise, which is a huge coup for them to keep those clubs away with that 35 million release clause. So fair play to them for convincing him to stay. Again, it doesn't look like he'll be available for this game due to his current injury, but Crystal Palace certainly have a lot of quality, and we know how good they are defensively. I just think Arsenal will just be that little bit too strong on Monday night. And that is going to be it for this week's video. Thank you very much for watching as always. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments all of your thoughts for this second weekend's fixtures. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you very soon.